Until the late 1980s, there were not even chairs allowed in the towers, and officers had to stand the whole 8-hour shift while wearing military-issued flak vests and a military helmet. Once a lieutenant called the towers and told them he was coming out to perform an inspection. He wanted to make sure that the tower officers were wearing their flak vests and helmets when he got there. He insisted that anybody who did not have the required equipment and shined shoes would be written up. What he did is he first went to 8 Tower, which where a 60-year-old Air Force vet was working in the tower, and that tower was placed right in front of the institution, and it overlooked the upper parking lot and the front doors, and it was the first tower that the lieutenant would go to. Well, he knocked on the door, the officer opened it, looked down the 35 feet or so, and verified that it was the lieutenant. Asked him if he was under duress. He said not. So he opened the electronic lock, and the lieutenant started climbing the stairs. When you climb those stairs, you have to keep your eye on the stairs in front of you because they're very steep, very narrow, and they're circular stairs that go up to the top of the tower. And you have to be cautious or you will fall, and you get some significant injuries that way. Well, when he got to the top of the stairs, the officer was standing about 3 feet from him, and he was wearing shined combat boots, a flak vest, and a steel helmet on his head, and an M14 rifle in his right hand, and not another stitch of clothing. The lieutenant turned around, didn't say a word, and walked back down the stairs, went inside the administration building and went to his office. After a few minutes, the other tower officer said, "Hey, is the lieutenant coming out?" And he said, over the intercom, he said, "No, I've changed my mind." And not another word was spoken about this incident until today. One tower had a camera monitor set up inside of it. The camera was, as far as I know, it still is, pointed at us right now. And there used to be, in front of this gate that you can see behind me, an arm that went up and down, up and down. And what would happen is the tower officer in the number 1 tower would click a clicker, and then the tower would, the gate arm would go up. The car would drive through and the gate arm would go down. And that would be after he spoke to you. And you can see it on that box right there in the center of the roadway. There's an intercom box there, and that's why the officer communicates with you. So what would happen is the car would pull up, they would talk to the officer, he would open the gate and let him in. Well, what would start to happen is that the captain's wife got upset about it, and she decided that she didn't need to be challenged. So what she would do is pull up, and she would do something to this effect. She would say, the officer would say, "Can I help you?" And she would say, "Can you see me?" And then the officer would say, "Well, I see your car." And then she'd say, "Well, then open the gate." And he'd say, "Well, who are you? Can you see me?" And this would go on several times until eventually a child would leave the back door and run over to housing, which you can see, which is right over there. Let me turn the camera here just a bit, and you can see housing. That's housing. From the front gate, you can see housing. And then the kid would run over there and go see the captain, and then the captain would call the lieutenant. So then the lieutenant would call me and say, "Why aren't you letting the captain's wife in?" And I said, "I don't know. There's a car out here, but no one's identifying themselves." And he says, "Well, it's the captain and his wife and his family. Let them in." And then he would let them in. So they decided that the answer to this problem was to just let in every car, even if you suspected they may or may not be staff or their family. So after they'd done that a bunch of times, a few people that was just driving on, because we used to get people that wanted to just drive onto the reservation, they would drive around unchallenged like you can do today and take photographs and drive off. So the tower officers called under the carpet for this stuff. So they came up with a new idea. They said, "Well, what we'll do is we'll issue clickers to everybody in staff housing." Well, there's 2 problems with that. Number one, some of the people in staff housing are too stupid to use a clicker. They don't know how to make it run. They click it twice, it goes up and comes back down and hits their car. Or they pull up to the gate, have their windows rolled up. The tower officer thinks, "Oh, it's somebody from staff housing and I'm just supposed to let them in." So he clicks his button, the gate goes up. Then the guy on the inside of the car clicks his button, it comes back down and it hits the car and it damages it because it's a heavy metal gate. Well, the thing to fix that was they decided to change the bar and make it a thin piece of wood. It was so thin that what would happen is a 20-mile-an-hour wind through here would make the gate fall off. So then they decided that the best thing to do would be to call in me, the Tower Number 1 officer, and tear into him, because, you know, it's obviously all my mistake. So me and the captain, we had this chat about the problem. And it was his opinion, and I was just pissing off his wife on purpose, because she was the only person that we had this trouble with. And he wanted me to stop doing that. So I said, I tell you what, I'll just let everybody in, just like we were doing before. And he said, no, absolutely not. So I said, well, then how about if we just have the fat, stupid bitch not live here on the reservation anymore? At which time they terminated the conversation. And I wasn't promoted for 17 years after the rest of my class was. Let me tell you about this crazy incident that happened at USP Marion, or at least while I worked there. I was retired from there after 23 years of service with the United States Penitentiary. And for at least most of the time that I worked there, we were the only level 6 super maximum security institution in the entire Bureau of Prisons. We actually took over for Alcatraz. Now, I had tower duty one time, and I was sitting out there in like 7 Tower, and my job was on the morning watch, which is the midnight to 8 a.m. shift, and my job was to sit out there and make sure that no one escaped. It was long and it was boring. So one day I decided, man, I really like lemon meringue pies. So I bought one on the way to work, and I sit up there in my tower, and over the next 8 hours I ate the entire pie. Well, when I went home that day, my wife was preparing my clothes to be washed, and she went through all my pockets like she normally does, and she found a receipt for this pie. And when I woke up that day, she said, hey, what happened to this pie? And I said, I ate it. She said, oh no, I understand that, but what happened to the rest of the pie? I said, I ate it. No, you bought a pie, yes, and you ate some of it. No, I ate all of it. She just stops and stares at me and says, you ate the entire pie all by yourself? Yes. You didn't bring home any for me and the children? No. It's not at work. You swallowed it all? Yes. Oh my God, you're gonna die of some diabetic thing. And she just went all crazy. And she was very upset with me because I ate an entire pie all by myself, because 1, it was selfish, and 2, it's not healthy. And she was concerned for both reasons. Well, I went back that evening, and you know, we're just talking out in the towers, and I told my friend, we'll just call him Bob. I told my friend Bob, I said, yeah, my wife got all upset about me eating that pie. And he said, well, what do you mean? And I said, yeah, she just don't want me eating pies like that. She don't want me eating pies at all, much less eating whole pies. So he said, oh, that's funny. And I don't know, a week or so goes by, and my wife comes in, meets me at the door, and she says, hey, after you left, the mailman came, and I got this here letter. See this here letter? I got this here letter. And in this letter is this form. And right here on this form, it says that you signed up for a Pie of the Month club. And it's going to cost us $35 a month for this Pie of the Month club. What the hell are you doing? I said, I don't know what you're talking about. Give me that. So I take it from her, and I get to eyeballing it. And there at the bottom, as the president's signature of the Pie of the Month Club, is my friend's name, old Bob from work. And I said, oh, I get it. He thinks that it's funny that my wife gets pissed off about this pie that I ate, so he figures that he's going to sign me up for this fictitious Pie of the Month Club thing. And it's all made up. And to just pull my tail a little bit, he signs the bottom as the president of the Pie of the Month Club, so at least I'll figure it out. Well, I start laughing because I think it's funny. Pie of the Month Club. And that makes my wife even madder. So she just goes nuts all about it. You know, I said, look, it's fake, it's fake, it's fake. And I said, and she knows Bob. She knows the guy. And I said, see right here, That's the name of, that's old Bob that's there. That's the guy from work. He sent this. He thinks this is funny. He goes, that's not funny. That's not funny at all. You know, and I'm like, oh yeah, it is. It is funny. No, it's not. So, you know, that night I go to work and I go, hey, president of the Pie of the Month Club, and he busts out laughing. I go, yeah, my wife didn't think that was too funny. She went like all ballistic and stuff. And he said, really? He thought that was even funnier. Damn, that's funny. So we all had a big laugh, and it just irritated the hell out of my wife because it reminded her that one time I ate a pie all by myself. Now, if you like this video, please subscribe or at least hit the like button.